My name is Sarah Jenkins. I'm 28 years old, and I'm an archivist. The attic air hung thick and stale around me, smelling of dust and forgotten things. My fingers, smudged with grime, fumbled with the clasp of the small wooden box I'd just pulled from behind a loose panel in the wall. It was plain, unassuming, but my mother's cryptic note had led me straight to it. Just as I finally clicked it open, a thunderous crash from the attic door made me jump, sending a jolt of adrenaline through me. Richard, my stepfather, stood framed in the doorway, his face a mask of furious accusation. "What are you doing up here?" he snarled, his eyes narrowed, fixed on the box in my hands. His voice, usually a low rumble, was sharp, cutting through the silence. "What are you hiding, Sarah?" I tried to tuck the box behind my back, a futile gesture. "Nothing, Richard. Just looking for some of Mom's old things." My voice wavered, betraying the lie. I knew he wouldn't believe me, not with the way he was looking at me, like I was a thief caught in the act. He took a step forward, then another, his heavy work boots thudding on the floorboards. "Give it to me," he commanded, his hand outstretched. When I hesitated, clutching the box tighter, his patience snapped. He lunged, grabbing my arm, twisting it. The pain was immediate, a sharp, searing fire. I cried out, stumbling back against a stack of old trunks. He didn't let go. His other hand came up, a quick, brutal slap across my face that sent my head reeling and a metallic taste flooding my mouth. I dropped to my knees, but still, I held on to the box, a primal instinct to protect its secrets. He didn't expect what was inside, not one bit. And soon, he would regret ever laying a hand on me. To understand why I was even in that attic, why I was so determined to protect that unassuming wooden box, you have to go back to when Richard first entered our lives. I was 12 when he married my mother, Eleanor. My father had passed away a few years prior, and Mom had been adrift. Richard, with his booming laugh and seemingly endless charm, swept her off her feet. He was a successful contractor, always talking about family legacy and providing for the future. At first, he seemed like a godsend, filling the void my father had left. He was attentive to Mom, and even tried to be a good stepfather to me, taking me to baseball games and teaching me how to change a tire. But as the years passed, the charm began to wear thin, revealing a controlling nature beneath. He started managing all of Mom's finances, claiming he was protecting her investments. He slowly isolated her from her old friends, saying they were bad influences. The house, which had been in my mother's family for generations, gradually felt less like hers and more like his. He changed the locks, rearranged rooms, and even started dictating what we ate for dinner. Mom, always a gentle soul, became increasingly dependent on him, especially as her health began to decline in her late 40s. She developed a series of chronic conditions that left her exhausted and vulnerable. I tried to talk to her, to point out the subtle ways Richard was taking over, but she'd just sigh and say, "He's just trying to help, Sarah. He means well." I felt like I was watching her disappear, piece by piece, into the shadow of his control. When Mom passed away last year, it was sudden, a heart attack that took her in her sleep. The grief was immense, but it was quickly overshadowed by Richard's behavior. He took charge of everything, from the funeral arrangements to the clearing out of her personal effects. He insisted on a quick cremation, and then, almost immediately, began going through Mom's belongings with an unsettling urgency. "No point in dwelling," he'd say, "Eleanor wouldn't want us to be morbid." But it felt less like moving on and more like an erasure. I wanted to keep some of her things, her journals, her old photographs, but he was dismissive. He boxed them up, labeling them donations or trash, barely giving me a moment to look through them. One afternoon, a few weeks after the funeral, I went to the small study that had been Mom's sanctuary. I wanted to find her favorite teacup, a delicate porcelain piece she'd inherited from her grandmother. Richard had already cleared out most of the room, leaving only a few dusty pieces of furniture. As I ran my hand along the back of her old mahogany desk, my fingers brushed against a loose panel. It wasn't a secret compartment, just a poorly fitted piece of wood, but behind it, tucked into a narrow space, was a folded piece of paper. It was Mom's handwriting. My heart hammered against my ribs as I unfolded it. "My dearest Sarah," it began. "If you are reading this, I fear Richard has taken control. I have tried to protect what is ours. There is a box, a small wooden one, hidden in the attic. Behind the third panel from the left, near the old cedar chest. It contains the truth. If anything happens to me, find it. It will protect you." The note was dated 2 years prior, before her health had truly deteriorated. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Mom had known. She had been afraid. She had tried to warn me. I looked up at the attic door, which Richard had recently fitted with a new, heavy-duty padlock. "My space for storage," he'd called it, dismissing my request to retrieve some of Mom's winter clothes. That detail mattered later. He'd never bothered with a lock before, not on an internal door. It was a subtle shift, but it had felt significant at the time. Now, with Mom's note in my hand, it felt like a deliberate barrier. He was hiding something, and he knew I might be looking for it. The family legacy he always spoke of was clearly not the one I imagined. My role as an archivist had taught me patience, meticulousness, and the art of observation. I didn't confront Richard directly. Instead, I began to watch him. I noted his schedule, the times he left the house for his contracting jobs, the days he spent at the golf course. I also started looking for a way into the attic. I remembered Mom had always kept a spare key to the old, original attic lock hidden in a specific ceramic bird on her dresser. Richard had cleared out her dresser, but I'd seen him place the bird, along with a few other trinkets, on a high shelf in the garage. One Tuesday morning, Richard left for a job site, promising to be gone all day. This was my chance. I retrieved the ceramic bird, and sure enough, a tiny, tarnished key was nestled inside. My hands trembled as I approached the attic door. The new padlock was formidable, but to my relief, it was a secondary lock. The original, older lock was still there, and the key slid in perfectly. With a click, the attic door swung open, revealing the dusty, cluttered space. The air was thick with the smell of old paper and mothballs. I found the cedar chest Mom had mentioned, its dark wood gleaming faintly in the sliver of light from the small attic window. My heart pounded as I traced the wall behind it, counting 3 panels from the left. My fingers explored the wood, searching for the seam, the slight imperfection. There it was, a tiny give, a barely perceptible gap. With a little pressure, the panel eased open, revealing a dark recess. And there it was, the small wooden box. It was exactly as Mom had described, unassuming, about the size of a shoebox, but flatter. I pulled it out, my fingers tracing the smooth, aged wood. It felt heavy, not with gold or jewels, but with something else entirely. I could feel the weight of its secrets. As I was about to open it, I heard the unmistakable rumble of Richard's truck turning into the driveway. Panic seized me. He was back early. I didn't have time to examine the contents, let alone put the box back and make my escape. My only thought was to hide it, to protect it from him, until I could properly understand what Mom had left for me. I shoved the box behind the nearest stack of old photo albums, just as his heavy footsteps started up the stairs. That's when he burst in, his face contorted in rage, and the rest unfolded as it did. The slap had stunned me, but the pain was quickly replaced by a fierce, desperate resolve. I clung to that box with everything I had, even as Richard grabbed my arm again, his grip like iron. "Give it to me, you little sneak," he roared, his voice raw with fury. He twisted my arm, pulling me up, and then shoved me against a stack of old newspapers. My head hit the wall with a dull thud, and for a moment, stars swam before my eyes. But I didn't let go. He ripped the box from my grasp, finally, with a violent yank that sent a fresh wave of pain through my shoulder. He stood over me, breathing heavily, the wooden box clutched in his hand. His eyes, usually a placid blue, were now dark and wild. He glared at me, then down at the box, his chest heaving. "What is this? What have you been hiding?" he muttered, more to himself than to me. He fumbled with the clasp, his hands shaking slightly, and then snapped the lid open. He expected something trivial, I could tell. A diary. Old love letters. Something sentimental that he could dismiss or ridicule. But his eyes widened, then narrowed, as he looked inside. The color drained from his face, leaving it a sickly gray. Inside the box, meticulously organized and bound with a faded ribbon, were documents. Not just any documents. There was Mom's original will, dated 5 years ago, long before her health truly declined. It explicitly stated that the house, her family home, was to be placed in a trust for me, her only child, upon her death. Richard was granted lifetime tenancy, provided he maintained the property and paid the taxes, but he had no ownership rights, and no right to sell. It was a complete contradiction to the will he had presented to me after her death, which left everything to him. Beneath the will were bank statements, meticulous records going back years. They showed a steady, systematic transfer of funds from my mother's separate accounts into accounts solely in Richard's name. There were large withdrawals, too, often coinciding with his business investments that never seemed to materialize. Some of the signature lines on transfer forms looked off. Not quite Mom's elegant script. And then, there was a notarized letter, dated a year before her death. In it, Mom detailed her growing fear of Richard's financial control. She wrote about his increasing isolation of her, his subtle threats, and her suspicions that he was siphoning her money. She explicitly stated that she had hidden these documents to protect me, knowing Richard would try to claim everything. She ended it with a plea, "Sarah, my love, fight for what is yours. This house, this legacy, it is for you." Richard's face was a study in horror, then pure, unadulterated rage. He looked at the documents, then at me, his eyes blazing. You found these," he stammered, his voice choked. He made a move to rip the papers, to destroy the evidence. But my archivist training, my instinct to preserve, kicked in even through the pain. I lunged, not for the box, but for my phone, which had fallen from my pocket. I managed to snap a quick photo of the top page of the will and the notarized letter before he could react. "Don't you dare," I whispered, my voice raw but firm. "It's too late, Richard." "I know." He roared, a guttural sound of defeat and fury. He threw the box down, scattering the documents across the dusty floor. He then stormed out of the attic, slamming the door behind him, leaving me bruised, shaken, but strangely triumphant. The pain in my arm and face was throbbing, but the fire in my belly was stronger. I didn't wait. As soon as I heard his truck peel out of the driveway, I gathered the scattered documents, carefully placing them back into the wooden box. My first call was to my Aunt Carol, Mom's sister, who had always been suspicious of Richard but powerless to intervene. Her gasp of disbelief and then anger when I explained was validating. My next call was to a lawyer specializing in probate and elder fraud, recommended by Aunt Carol. I sent him the photos I'd managed to take, along with a brief explanation. The following days were a whirlwind. I went to the emergency room for my injuries, where a doctor confirmed a hairline fracture in my wrist and significant bruising on my face and arm. I filed a police report for assault, detailing Richard's attack and the context of the box. The police took my statement, photographed my injuries, and the officer looked at me with a grim sympathy. My lawyer, Mr. Davies, was efficient and direct. He confirmed that the will Richard had presented after Mom's death was a fabricated document, likely signed under duress or forged. The notarized letter from Mom, combined with the bank statements and my testimony about the assault, provided a powerful case. He quickly filed a petition to invalidate the fraudulent will and initiated an investigation into the financial transfers. Richard was arrested 2 days later, not just for the assault, but also for questioning regarding the forged will and potential financial fraud. He tried to deny everything, claiming I was unstable and making it all up, but the evidence was overwhelming. The police found copies of the fraudulent will on his computer, along with other incriminating documents. His family legacy was crumbling around him. The legal process was slow, but relentless. Richard was eventually charged with assault, forgery, and financial elder abuse. He lost his claim to Mom's estate entirely. The house, her beloved home, was officially transferred into my name, as per Mom's true wishes. Richard faced significant fines, restitution, and a prison sentence. He was no longer the charming, successful contractor. He was a disgraced, convicted criminal. It's been 6 months since then. I've moved back into the house, slowly restoring it to the way Mom kept it, painting over the harsh colors Richard had chosen, replacing the heavy, masculine furniture with pieces that felt lighter, more like her. The attic, once a place of fear and secrets, is now simply a storage space, filled with memories I can sort through at my own pace. The small wooden box sits on Mom's old mahogany desk in the study. It's empty now, its contents having served their purpose in court. But it's no longer just a box. It's a testament to my mother's quiet strength, her foresight, and her enduring love. It's the true family legacy she fought to protect, and the one I fought to reclaim.